What's going on, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome back to the Fringe. It seems that Mark Carney has already failed the promises he made to his voters. What do I mean by that? Well, if you look at what happened with Donald Trump, if you look at what happened prior to the election, Mark Carney used Donald Trump as a vehicle to get people wound up in fear that don't worry about anything with the tariffs, don't worry about nothing. Old Carney's going to take care of it. Carney's going to be the tough negotiator to go down to the U.S., handle Donald Trump, put an end to these tariffs, and get everybody's lives and their jobs back on track. Well, we already knew last week when we covered the press conference between Mark Carney and Donald Trump, that wasn't happening. Now, again, I won't play the clip because you've probably seen it a million times, but when Mark Carney was sitting in the Oval Office, one of the reporters asked Donald Trump, is there anything that the Canadian Prime Minister can say to get you to pull back on the tariffs? He said no. She asked why not. He said, well, it's just the way it is. There was never a plan to negotiate the tariffs. In fact, I've talked already how Mark Carney's failed on the promises he's made. He's just copied Pierre Poilievre. In fact, he's done it even more. His voters are about to get what they bargained for. And what's really funny, and what I want you all to watch as things move forward with this Canadian government, is that the lunatics who voted for Mark Carney, the Southern Ontario folk, the Liberal voters, the Liberal boomers, who gave the finger in Brantford and said, we got to protect our investments, we got to protect our livelihoods, we got to protect everything we've ever built, but screw everybody else. Well, they're about to find out very quickly that Mark Carney has done nothing for them and will do nothing for them. The question everybody's asking is, since he's copying Pierre Poilievre, is he going to be a half-decent prime minister while robbing the country blind? And what I mean by that is what people are asking is what if Mark Carney does the opposite of Justin Trudeau? When we had Justin Trudeau, Justin was flaunting his corruption in our face. He was showing us what he was doing as if a magician were revealing their secrets as they're doing their illusions. Mark Carney, on the other hand, what if he's being skilled and calculated? What if he's coming into Canada to appear as if he's doing a good job in order to get approval from said voters who constantly will keep the Liberals in office, only to run his shenanigans in the background? It'll be interesting to see what happens when Parliament resumes, how the Conservatives plan to attack the Liberals. Now, I'm not saying that I will ever tip my cap to Mark Carney or I will ever say that he's a good prime minister. What I'm saying is the voters who put him in may be convinced that, hey, you know what? The refresh was what we needed. Justin's gone. The Liberals are still just as strong as they ever were. I think this is spelling bad news, not just for Pierre, but for all Conservatives moving forward, as the corruption's going to continue, but it may continue in a manner that appeases most voters. You're not going to see the outrage that was with the Liberals going into the election from Liberal voters. It's important I say that, because nobody on this side of the fence is, promoting the Liberals. But look at this tweet from Brian Lilly. These are nice words from Mark Carney, but if he wants to deal with the budding national unity crisis, we will need to see action, not words. So once again, he has taken a page out of Pierre Poilievre's book. Stole from his campaign. We saw this throughout. He's a plagiarist, after all. Let's listen to what he says. Tell me if this sounds familiar.
We will remove federal barriers to internal trade by July 1st to help unleash the full potential of Canada. We will work with provinces, territories, and Indigenous groups to identify projects that are in the national interest, projects that will connect Canada, deepen our ties with the world, and grow our economy for generations. We'll make the Canadian government a catalyst for these projects, not an impediment. We will remove...
So what's funny about that was this is exactly what Pierre talked about before the election, opening up trade barriers throughout the country. Let's make Canada a global powerhouse. Let's get our products to market. Let's help farmers get their products without a carbon tax. Let's help people keep their jobs and move forward. The funny thing is with Donald Trump not addressing the tariffs, this could still heavily impact our aluminum and steel business. It could still heavily impact our automotive sector, which is a large part of Ontario. So again, the shenanigans are coming out full course to make it appear as though Mark Carney cares about Canada. That's not going to happen. Again, he already failed his voters when you look at table salt here, nothing has changed. This is again where I go back to the reference of a magician and their illusion, is that liberal voters are going to say Mark Carney's doing a fantastic job. Newsflash, we already saw it last week after the scathing appointment with Donald Trump, where liberal voters said, I think he's done a good job. I think he did what he needed to do. He didn't do anything. He sat there and took a bunch of guff from Donald Trump. But now you've got Table Salt tweeting out here, breaking: Canada's trade minister admits there's no progress with tariff negotiations in the U.S. Renegotiating CUSMA is not even being discussed. It's the best crisis negotiator on planet Earth. I mean, this is where we are. Nothing has changed. Yet you have all these factions, the liberal shill prostitutes. You've got Carney voters and liberal supporters all standing saying Carney's doing a great job. Nothing has changed. So what does that tell you Canada's headed into moving forward? Even if he copies Pierre Poilievre, if nothing has changed and if Trump isn't going to renegotiate CUSMA, in fact, articles, if you watched yesterday's video, have already stated that Donald Trump's big announcement that's going to be earth-shattering is going to be essentially keeping the tariffs that are already in place. And liberal voters are going to be okay with that. Let's take a look at this clip.
So again, we've asked ourselves those questions. I've talked to a number of my colleagues in Ottawa about that exact question. It's obvious that we're not going to wait till the obligatory review of the Canada-US-Mexico Free Trade Agreement in 2026 to make progress on the tariffs that have hit us for the last number of months. We have no reason to think, by the way, the Americans are interested in triggering an earlier review of the free trade agreement. They haven't indicated that to us, but they are interested in discussing how Canada and the United States can work on economic and security issues together. And hopefully that partnership will lead to the removal of the tariff. So the question is a good one. I'm not sure we have a clear answer yet.
But the president did seem he seemed to talk well about the agreement, which I think was kind of surprising or perhaps encouraging.
So here's what you've got. Rosemary needs to look inside herself and really examine what's going on here. This is again the padding that comes from the mainstream shill prostitutes. Is that they're going to sit here and say, oh, look at this seemed positive, right? Let's spin it in a nice way for Mark Carney. Let's make Mark Carney look like he's doing a good job, like he really took care of the problem for us. CUSMA is not being renegotiated. There is no headway on tariffs. In fact, the tariffs are only going to get our economy in worse shape as time goes on. Mark Carney has ultimately crapped the bed before he's even started in Parliament. And what I find hilarious is that with thundering applause, they're going to spin it in a way that this was successful, that this was a win for Canada, when all he has done is copied Pierre's promise to open up interprovincial trade, strengthen Canada's economy, all while God knows what happens in the background. Again, keep in mind, since this meeting with Donald Trump, the Bank of Canada is warning about a recession and credit not being given to those who could once easily get approval, that things are going downhill fast. This is the tight line that people are walking between a realistic government and a con man, a carnival man, if you will, a carny. See what we did there? Let me know what you guys think down below. Do you think Mark Carney is going to get the respect of the Liberals, or do you think he's absolutely fallen back on his promises to deal with Donald Trump? Let me know your thoughts down below. If it's your first time here, I hope this video's earned your subscription. Make sure as you're hitting that subscribe button, you hit the bell for all notifications. Join me tonight on the channel for a very special live stream with Mrs. Fringe as we celebrate hitting our 100,000 subscriber milestone. We're going to be doing giveaways. We're going to be talking with you guys, having some jokes, some laughs, looking at politics and where they are right now, and hearing basically from you, the viewer, in that live stream. It all starts at 6 p.m. Pacific, 8 p.m. Central tonight here on the channel, but also join us every Friday night for Friday Night Fringe, our weekly live streaming show, where we go over everything that happened this week in politics, everything we know that's coming up in the week ahead, as well as hearing your Q&A inside of those live streams. Mrs. Fringe and I most enjoy looking forward to talking with you guys outside of making these videos, but we really look forward to hearing what you have to say this Friday night, starting at 6 p.m. Pacific, 8 p.m. Central again here on the channel. With that said, ladies and gentlemen, I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you have a great rest of your day. I'll catch you on the next one.